Joining me now is former Alabama Senator Doug Jones, who's currently running for governor in the state of Alabama as a Democrat. I want to start tonight with some sound from a campaign speech you gave last week outlining some of your policy goals and vision for Alabama should you become governor. Here's a bit of it that I want you to listen to.
The real villain in Alabama is not your neighbor. It's not the family down the road who prays a little differently, maybe looks a little different, or even came here from a little farther away. The real villain is the small circle of people who have grown very rich and very comfortable off a system that keeps you focused on fearing each other.
How is your message being received on the trail? And how would you describe the energy on the Democratic side of this race right now?
You know, Ralph, thanks for having me tonight. We are so excited about the energy that we're seeing out in across Alabama. I mean, the town halls that we're doing. I mean, I am out there all the time. You know, Tommy Tuberville is not. He's staying hidden like he did in 2020. But that was a COVID time. It was easy to stay hidden. Not anymore. He's got to get out there. So the energy that we're seeing is really remarkable. And I think people are seeing all of the just horrific things he says about Muslims, about black Alabamians, about others, the dog whistle politics he's used. We've known that kind of racial division politics for a long, long time in Alabama. And I think people are tired of it. They're concerned about the same things across America that people are concerned about: their affordability, their health care, their gas prices, their housing costs, the things that matter at their kitchen tables. That's what they're talking about. And I will tell you, Rob, the biggest thing that we're seeing in the energy right now that crosses political lines, it crosses racial lines and urban and divide, is the data center issue. People are very upset about all of the data centers that they're seeing being planned in their communities, and they want a moratorium, which is what I've called for.
Now, last night we talked to Maryland Senator Angela Alsobrooks. She was in Mississippi campaigning for Democratic Senate candidate Scott Collum, who told us recently that anger over the Supreme Court's voting rights decision and the gerrymandering that followed could tip scales in his favor with voters in his state come November. Alabama just reinstated a map previously ruled discriminatory by a federal court. Are you hearing anger from voters, black voters specifically, over the map and over threats to voting rights generally right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Rev. And you used a term that I used right when the Alabama rushed in to do that, and that is that the governor and the state legislature returned us to the old Confederacy. People see that. You know, a lot of people have taken their vote for granted over the years. I've said before, unless you were born before the Voting Rights Act, you've not lived in a country in which your right to vote was so challenged the way it is right now. People are concerned. They are waking up to that. They are getting out to the polls. We saw that in our May 19th primary, which was just days after the Alabama legislature went back into session to put those intentionally racially discriminatory congressional lines on the books. And so what we saw was a surge in Democratic votes in a primary that did not get a lot of money spent, did not get the same kind of attention as some $35 million in the Republican primary. Democratic ballots surged while Republican ballots were down 25%. I think there's something very, very real out there that people are looking, and they want to change. This is not red, it's not blue. People want to change right now. They want to change so that they can move forward and not go backwards.
Let's talk a bit about your opponent, because in the past, Tommy Tuberville has criticized efforts to get white nationalists out of our military, only conceding that their views are racist after bipartisan outcry. He questioned whether teachers in the inner city have adequate credentials or can even read and write. He's warned that Muslim immigrants would, quote, overwhelm us, and that we have, quote, got to fight back. The senator has recanted some of these statements and more, but some of it he hasn't. Is that the kind of record and temperament to represent Alabama?
Absolutely not. There's no question. I don't think people do not like that, Rev. You know, look, I've said for many years, you know, sadly, Alabama has that reputation. Sadly, Alabama has been the point of so many divisions. When I did the church bombing cases that you and I have talked about so many times on this program, well, the only criticism that we heard was some very conservative folks said, we don't want to go back. We have moved on. We have gotten past the fire hoses and dogs and the deaths of children. We're better than that now. Well, Tommy Tuberville is trying to throw us back into that era of hate, of division, of an Alabama that everybody sees as us versus them, good versus evil. But that's not the people of Alabama that I know. I don't think it's going to be a majority of the people that come out to vote in November. And I think they're just like they did with Roy Moore. I think they're going to reject those politics.
All right, former Senator Doug Jones, thank you for being with us.